Okay, we had two things I was debating doing today. One I prepared for, and the other I did not. However, because time is an issue, what we're going to do today is going to be the one I am not prepared for. So, we do have a handheld mic to the extent anybody else gets involved. I wish I was having this discussion with every single person that might possibly watch this, because what I want to try to go over, at least as the best I know how to say, is how to sell remodels. And weigh in, ask questions, throw ideas, please, those of you that are sitting here with me today. Remodels are huge. Remodeling matters to you build it. For every one of you franchisees out there watching this, you have to offer it because it's part of your agreement, but you have to. There's too much to be saved there. We save people more money on a remodel than we do any other way. The struggle is, how do you bid it? How do you sell it? How do you pitch it? It's so very different than doing a straight up new home. I will say this. One of the struggles I know I've run into, and some of y'all have because I've talked to you, is who are you bidding against? If you're out there and it's just, you just get talk to the people straight up, nobody else has, it's a pretty easy little run. If they're talking to other people and they're talking to a full-blown, true blue remodeling general contractor, you should dominate it. They charge so much more for labor. They get so much more for what they do. You're usually going to be dragging your new crews over and doing that. You're just going to knock it out of the park. And when we get these remodel things and it is a straight up true bid against another, and whether here in Oklahoma City or somewhere else in the nation, you get to stand up and say, we saved them 70%. And it does get that crazy high. That's usually what you're talking about. When you're bidding against the guy in a truck, it's a whole different beast. Guy in a truck, which is the handyman remodeler, that it's him and a buddy that he doesn't pay insurance on, and he's not carrying insurance on himself per se, which I don't want to be a whining baby about that. Some of them do and are full legit, and if they don't, again, who cares? They're just buying themselves a job. In other words, I'm not trying to pay another man's job. I'm not trying to make a profit. I'm not trying to cover this and run a company. This is just the best way for me to get work. Bless those guys. They're great guys. Every one of us probably has one that we call all the time to help us out on punch and detail and everything else. Those are a lot tougher. Those guys usually are bidding pretty close to what we are. So, I want to attack that. Sorry, Yeager. I want to attack that question first. When you're going against the guy in the truck, at least in my experience, and I'm talking to the client, the best thing to do, as with any of them, is just straight up honest. And just say, look, honestly, am I going to save you a little bit? Probably. Just because we have a buying power on materials that he doesn't. That will more than offset our 15% fee. And so I think I will save you some. Am I going to save you half? No, I'm really not, because this guy is just trying to sign himself a job. The difference is this. Which would you rather have doing your work? And I'm not saying either's wrong. I'm just telling you, which would you rather have doing your work? A skilled craftsman specific to each particular job, or a jack of all trades? Would I rather have a purist on trim do my trim, and a purist on plumbing do my plumbing, and a purist on sheetrock doing my sheetrock and paint? Or would I rather have a guy that knows how to hang sheetrock and how to paint and how to put up trim and how to do my plumbing? The answer's obvious. What you got to do is say it in a way that isn't condescending. That can be the hard part. I struggle with that. It's one of those where it's so obvious I shouldn't have to bring it up, but trust me, you absolutely have to bring that up. People don't make that leap on their own, and they'll click that. Here's the thing you have to accept and admit, and if you can work it in, it shows a little integrity, so go ahead and do so. The caveat being the guy that you know his work. If it's, well, I hear what you're saying, but in the back of their mind, he did Aunt Susan's house, and it was magnificent, you're probably not going to win that one. And maybe you are. But what you have to sell then is the value of recourse, the value of coming back, The beauty of the guys that really, truly are that good and are that good a craftsman is now you're back in the game on price, because those guys know their value and they tend to be very expensive. I have a good friend named Jarvis Wright. He is that guy. He does 100% of the work himself. He does such an exceptional job that I promise you, I have very few trades, if I was bidding it out, that could do as well as he could. He is backed up 2.5 years. He's that good. He has contracts for the next 2.5 years, and he turns down the ones after that. He charges a price where I would undercut his price by 70% all day long, and people are glad to pay it because it is that unique a craftsman. Again, it's not competition. If I bid up against him, I'm going to win that all day long. Those are very rare people. You will run into them once in a while. What you have to be aware of is if that guy got to your client first, or second, if they do not know him personally, every guy in a truck presents himself as being that type of guy. You have to figure out how to pitch them in a realistic way that it is better to use the specific craftsman and yada, yada, yada. That is the main bent on pitching remodel when you're bidding up against a guy in a truck. Those are not as common as you might think. When I was new, I ran into them a lot more because most of the remodel calls I got, because I didn't have a reputation, were the itty bitty, will you remodel my bathroom, will you redo my kitchen? Yeah, I mean, those are the guy in a truck things. But as a rule, true remodels are not. The remodels you want to get into that pay you money are the ones that are the big ones, where you're bidding against a true general contractor or somebody that really, truly thinks they're going to go their own route. I will say this. Sorry, Jaeger. He winces every time I take a drink. I guess because he hears it. I told you, just give me the handheld. There's two different thoughts, and I have chased this remodel thing for the last 5 years more than I think anybody else has. I do want to say there's some guys out there nationwide that are more successful than me at remodel. Most of you guys that are tend to be just a remodel. You built an office, it was your background and your contacts and everything else. And as with many of us trying to teach what our skill set is, you can't quite 100% figure out how to teach it. I have listened to you. I do grant you credit for wisdom. Please feel free to continue to share. But here's a struggle I've had. Do we manage a straight up true remodel just like every new home client? In other words, you get them the information, you get them in for a presentation, you do the presentation, and you get them commit. Little side note on that, it is, in my experience, not half the time, a little bit less, but pushing close to probably 35-40% of the time. If that is the pattern you choose to take and sell in the remodel, there's often an extra sell in there. There's an extra step between the presentation and the signing of the agreement. You quite often have to go to the project, just because it can be weird enough, it can be unique enough. Hopefully, and this has been my experience at least 60% of the time, hopefully you have sold them on you enough that they understand the value of that and they're willing to hire you and write you a check for $1,500 to get those answers. Let's be honest, it can suck to give away your service. You devalue your service. You're an advisor, you're a consultant, you're guiding through. If you tell them, hey, this is what you're paying me for and blah, 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 and then you say, oh, I'll come look at it for free, you really have hurt yourself a little. You've devalued some. But the kicker to that is, if you can't make a wild-ass guess that you feel you can back up on price, that's when you have to go make that step. If I get the guy that's coming in and he's got a rough picture of his plan and he wants to add this 1,000-square-foot room and it's going to have an extra bathroom in it, a couple living rooms, I can honestly extrapolate out what that's going to cost close enough that I can sit there and go, look, depending on how much you want to do in best case scenario and how easy it is to tie the foundation, all the things we're going to know till we're done with the planning phase, we could be as low as 60, but I'm going to be realistic with you. There's a huge range here, and it's why we have to bid it the way we do. It could be as much as 120. I can't know till we get out, we dig back, we look at your foundation, how are we going to tie in, what is your roof line, what choice are you going to make? That's why the planning is so important. Extreme high 120, extreme low 60. Realistically, you're probably going to be somewhere around 80. But I can't know till I get in and do it. Then I let the conversation flow and answer the questions. In that one, I don't need to go out there. In all sincerity, if I go out there for free again, I feel I've devalued the service. In the one where, well, we've got this old farmhouse that we moved from this property over here, and we want to figure out how to tie it in, and we're thinking that we want to double it off the back and go 2-story, you're in over my head. I'm going to go one of two routes in that. My first one is to try to sell you on how extremely valuable my service is to you and why you're going to pay me for it. And if I don't feel I'm getting that close, then I'm going to go for closing them on understanding the value of that after I've walked it and my sale, more than getting them to contact the lender at that presentation, is getting them to let me come out and walk the property. Easiest sale in the history of the world, by the way. Anybody will let you come walk it for free and tell them what it's going to cost. Who doesn't want that? So you go ahead and schedule it and go there. I have had extremely good luck doing them that way. I have found the hardest sale for me doing in-house presentations for remodels is the getting them in for the presentation in the first place. If I get 10 leads for new, I'm going to get 3 presentations, and I'm going to sell 2 of those. If I get 10 leads for remodel, honestly, it's probably the same. I'm probably discrediting a little bit. I think I just get so many fewer remodels, it seems like less. But even so, if I get 10, it might be 2 presentations and 1 sell. Now, that has worked very, very well for me, though. I've done a lot of remodels. I've done successful. I'm getting ready to go over item number 2, and I'm going to do a little caveat of, I continued to sell here. I had another guy working for me that sold in the second way, and I looked at it after a year, and I have made more sales and more money selling remodel the traditional way than I had going his. Now let me shut up and go over that. I had a point where sales was getting more than I could handle and I needed some help. I had a guy that was available and I told him I really don't have a job for you right now, but what I want to expand is the remodel side of the business, and I don't have time to focus on it. I am going to give you 100% of the remodel business. You go find it, bid it, sell it, oversee it, and boom, this is what I'm going to pay you and it's yours. And he did, and he did an excellent job of it. It became a very profitable department for me. He worked off the concept that getting them in did him no good. He needed to see the job, needed to be out there. He was a salesman from the standpoint, different paradigm of training. He grew up walking in the house, sitting down at the kitchen table and selling you that way. I hate that style of sales. But he liked it. I gave it to him. I said, do what you want to do, and he went and did it. This is option number 2, and I'm not going to judge him or negative that at all. Option 2 is a much, much easier sell. If you get a guy, especially one that calls in on remodel, I challenge you, you'll get at least 70% of them. If you get 10 leads, 7 of them, you will get out there. His first sale exclusively was, well, let me meet you at the property, explain how we work, and see what you got going. Again, you're going to come by after 5 o'clock. When I'm home from work, you're going to look at it for free, you're going to chat, you're going to tell me what it is, you're going to walk away, you're in, you're out, 20 minutes and done. At least that's what the client's thinking. Trust me, he was usually there for a good hour, hour and a half, but that's you selling while you're there. That is 1,000 times easier sell because it's zero commitment. It is zero commitment for you to come by my house. Me making a trip and coming to you and sitting down in yours is a commitment. So it is an easier sell and it has a place there. The difference is it's a harder close. That next sale of getting them to contact the lender, getting them to come in and commit and sign, now they really have to make something, and now they have enough knowledge to be scared. It is a little bit bigger step. Now, before I sound like that didn't work, it worked very, very well. I mean, we were signing 2 a month, and the average profit on was a little over 10 grand each. It wasn't a half bad thing, and the workload on a remodel is a cakewalk. And let's pause for a moment and back up. One of the values of remodel, it is easier work. The bidding process, as a rule, a little more complex, but honestly, it's also a little bit simpler. It's not as detailed as a rule. The pay is phenomenal. You don't get as many $30,000 contracts because you don't do as many $200,000 remodels, but you get a lot of $10,000. You charge a lot more. We charge 15%. Whatever the final job cost is, it's 15% flat fee. If there's variance afterwards, so be it. That is what it is. It's not uncommon to do a $100,000 remodel. You know, I mean, we get some where people freak out because it's $300,000 remodel and now 15% is 45 grand, and they start to stress. I mean, it makes good, but it's also very quick money. I get paid on remodels the day they start. There's no continuation of pay. There's no paying through stages. We're a consultant. We've done the hardest part of the job. Loan is closed. We get our check, period. Unless for some reason there's a complete freak out. And then I can vary it, but that is extremely rare, and it's usually the $45,000 one. Who's going to whine about that? The other thing is, it's nowhere near the number of site visits. You might do a remodel job that paid you only $8 grand, but you're only there 5 times. So it is a lot quicker cash. It's a lot quicker sale. The loan tends to be a lot easier. You tend to know up front whether they've got it or not, which is something I did skip over here. Again, guys, I didn't prepare quite properly. There is always the question of, doesn't matter if they can do it or want to do it. Well, actually, it doesn't matter if they want to do it if they can't. You've got to find out where the money's coming from. Is there going to be enough equity in the current house? Are we going to add enough equity through this remodel loan to do it? Do they have money saved up? How they're paying for it's huge. And again, that kind of flows better for me in-house. But sales number 2 is you go on site. If you go on site, keep in mind you've given up some power. Now your whole flow, if you're doing an on-site sale, in my opinion, is building relationship. And one of those is just being charismatic, getting to know them, listen to them, same as you do in the other. You got to hear their story. What is their story? What are they feeling? When they show you what they want to do, don't just treat it clinical. You're not a surgeon there to cut out a cancer. You're, well, why? What is our goal? What is our purpose? Why do we want to do this? And then do you have any ideas to advise them to help them get there better? You probably do. And believe it or not, they're probably going to like it. And if they don't, if you ask in the right way, if it's, well, have you thought about doing it? Well, we have, but either way, you're getting in a relationship. You're getting in a consultant thing. They're sharing with you, you're sharing with them, and you're back and forthing. The other thing you've got to do is you have better be able to either know it or fake it where you look like an expert. Because if they knew exactly what to do in this day of Home Depot and HGTV, they wouldn't have you out there at all. They'd be buying bags of concrete and buying 2x12s and doing this themselves. So they have you there to be an expert. Talk like it. Throw out BS terms. Open your manual and look at the glossary. Pick out the ones you don't know and use those as a word for the day. They don't know what they are either, so you'll sound like a genius. Explain how you're going to tie into the roof. Throw up terms like Dead Valley and then go, oh, I'm so sorry, that's a inside, this is what it means. People eat that kind of stuff up. You have to pitch that. You are now the absolute expert. When you are done, it shouldn't be about, if you're going on site, it is not about savings. It is not about you build it. It is about they bought you. You are no longer, in my opinion, as directly selling the service and the system as you are selling self. I will even challenge you this. This next point is true in both cases. It is extremely true if you're pitching on site. You better have a construction company that can do it straight up GC. A lot of those people that you sell on site have so bonded to you and your ideas and everything that they are not really even interested in the you build it flow. They just want you to get their job done for the price they can afford. You have got to be open to carrying a secondary company that is a true GC that can do the remodeling, pull the permits, pull the insurance, hire the crews, and do the whole thing, which is going to have to charge more than the 15%. This, in my opinion, gets into a struggle. And here I'm going to shut up if any of y'all have something you want to share. When do you switch on remodels from a straight up you build it to a true GC, and how do you handle the conflict of bidding them? Anybody got any thoughts or ideas you want to share? The microphone's right there, because I'm serious. That's a struggle for me. I mean, that's a huge struggle for me. Isn't it for you when you're out there pitching remodel?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you have to look at the. It is. I mean, I think you just have to look at the project and look and see, is it going to be worth them as using us as far as the fee goes too. If it's just a simple job like replacing windows, 8 or 10 windows, just act a GC all the way. If it's a room addition, I mean, we're going to use you build it and use our contractors. So I think that's just where you get in the decision of, is it a GC or is it a you build it, in my mind.
I think so too, but I do run into even some of the bigger ones where they're adding on a 600 square foot room, a little office, and a little bathroom, where it's just like you at times have to project manage or GC a new home. My struggle here is, and this goes into what you're talking about, for any of y'all that don't know how we price things, I need to go over, we're weird on remodel. We give away the planning phase because we're cowards. We're absolute, pardon the French, chicken shit cowards. We're scared to ask for the value of the service because early on when we did, we couldn't get it. New, we are cheaper than cheap. We charge $2,500 up front for the planning phase. We're giving it away on new. Construction's $585 a square foot, $1.95 a square foot, unheated space, minimum fee $15,000. Do I lose some little houses? I absolutely do. But I figure it takes me just as much time and effort to do a 1,400 square foot house as a 4,000, and I can't be profitable doing a 1,400 square foot house for $8,000. So I have a minimum. I lose some little ones because I don't make as much sense there. So be it. Where I can make sense on little ones is I may take them over under project management or general contractor. I do very, very, very few. I mean, like less than 1% GC jobs. I do a ton of project management jobs on new homes. We charge $4 a square foot additional for project management on new homes. That fits. That's an easy sell. The flow of that, what we're doing, it all makes perfect sense. And there is a hybrid between true GC and project management, and every one of you knows it. Remodel, I can't get there. Remodel, we charge $1,500 for planning. Again, frickin' ridiculously giving it away. 15% just kind of became the working number for what we upcharge on the other, and that makes sense. The problem from there is when you go from a you build it on remodel to a project management, you got to go to 40%. I mean, I've run the numbers. 40% still is not a profitable flow. The workload goes up dramatically. Instead of 5 site visits, you got 35 or 40. You're there every day instead of randomly at the end of certain changes. The cost has to go up dramatically, and it's such a smaller thing, and you need to have a minimum fee of like $10,000, which can blow a huge number of deals out the door. So my experience is in remodels, I've either got to be a true you build it, or I've just got to be Braudrick Construction remodeling services and bidding it straight up. Because at the same time on remodels, my overhead from a 40% markup to a 50% on a straight up is pittance. It's very, very little for what all is being added to it, and my workload's identical on a straight, and if anything, it might even be a little bit less on a straight up GC because I know the guys I'm hiring and I get to control them. So that is why that flow. Now, a side note on that is what you were saying. It's the only thing that makes sense when you take those into account on an itty-bitty job. Because if you're putting in 10 windows, we're still a huge help. It's much better to use us than to call Lowe's and say, who's your guy? Not to mention, my guy will do it for the same money or less as the Lowe's people will, and I still make a couple $100 and whoop-de-doo. But if you want to use me for that same job and say, pay me $1,500 for planning, which is here's $1,500, okay, here, call Eddie. Right. And then I'm going to mark him up 15%. I'm kind of ripping you off. I mean, I'm only making $2,000. It wasn't that much more, but for that less than $2,000 for $1,000 profit, I could have just used the GC, have my guy go out there in one day, in and out, done. You're happier. You got a higher quality job. Everybody's better. I probably bought you the windows cheaper than you would have to Lowe's or Home Depot. So those have some flow.
But also in the meantime, I mean, if those windows that's being replaced, once you get in there and do the job, it could turn into, oh, you guys did such a great job. Hey, I've been thinking about doing my kitchen remodel, been thinking about doing this. Or, you know, referrals is a big part of our business too, where somebody's, you know, you put your sign out in the front yard, other people are starting to drive by. Hey, what kind of job do they do? Great job. All right, well, here's a addition. So it just builds up.
It's why you do not want to walk away from them.
Right.
And so you need to have some solution for it, because you're absolutely right. They're having a Christmas party, and the Sunday school class is over and goes, I love those windows. I've been wanting to replace my windows. I just had a huge heating bill. Well, you get over and Janet wanted to replace her windows, but good golly, if you're there, she also was wanting to blow out the kitchen and redo it, or push back that living room wall was always a dream. Or could we finish off that bonus room upstairs, finish off the basement for those of you up north? Yeah, you never know when that little bitty, we replaced your front door job turns into a $300,000 remodel or a $500,000 new home or whatever. It all flows along, so you don't want to miss them. I've gone too long, obviously, because we have too much going on. I'm keeping people from appointments. I will touch base on this again another day. Any of y'all that are watching this and you have thoughts on remodel, I'm going to beg of you, please share your thoughts and advice, and please send your questions so we can try to address them. Here is my opinion. I personally feel remodel is better sold in-house. I think it gives you a controlled environment, and I think it saves you a lot of time and gas, because of those freebie easy ones you go out to. When they're the garbage ones, when it's the skanky mobile home that they owe 80 grand on and it's worth 50, and they were hoping to get enough equity out of the refi to just carry it all, you hate going out there at 5:30 p.m. It stinks. You get them in the office, you put in an hour, you treat them with respect, they leave talking well of you. You had a good day, it wasn't any big deal, and you do it 9 to 5 like you normally do as a rule, and that occasional evening. I greatly prefer that. There are going to be times you can go the other. There's going to be some of y'all that prefer the other. If that works better for you, that's okay. It is an easier first or second sale to get to the presentation. I just don't like the control flow of it, personally. I think having the wisdom to know when can I get paid for being out there the first time and when do I have to go out there for free the first time, that's got to be an individual case-by-case basis. This is my advice. How to price it is a huge struggle. How to close the deal and get them there can be a question. We went too much over semantics today, and I apologize for that, of how it works. I think you can all see I still struggle with the right way to attack remodel. Selling it to a great extent, I think, is exactly the same as selling anything else. Knowing your sub base, knowing how different ones work, knowing when, where, how, and why you actually save them money and control quality is your biggest point of issue. Any follow-up questions real quick?
No question. I just have a kind of a comment. I think that if you get them in the office, I think that's where you kind of help weed out the ones that are serious and the ones that are just actually, hey, come out. I don't have any idea what it's going to cost. Come out, do a site visit, give me an estimated idea of what you think it's going to cost, and then you never hear from them again. The ones that come in and actually sit down with you and take the time, those are the ones that are serious, and they have already made that commitment to you that, hey, I am serious. Let's just get this going and not waste your time.
Yeah, because if you can build a reputation as a quality remodel company, I don't care what city you're in. If you're in a city with a population of over 300,000, I don't see how you don't just go nuts. Most cities have very few people with a good reputation in that field. It just takes time. You can't just blatantly advertise it. You've got to build a reputation. You've got to get a list of clientele. from that end. It's why we have done a pure, here anyway, remodels DVD. That's why the DVD we have for y'all has so much remodel focused in it.
And the remodel TV ad that we've had now has been bringing in tons of leads also.
Yeah.
So,
of course, we started that off 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll even do
Right.
more.
Yeah.
And those questions, John came to work for us just a couple months ago and is focused on the remodeling side for us. Remodeling's huge. It's important. It does sell different, and we will come back to this in about a month. Again, please email me, and this goes for you too as well. Any questions, any thoughts, any techniques that have worked for you so we can kind of chase it down. Have a great weekend.